All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Let's see, where is that? Do I have them there? Is that it? Nope. There it is. All right. Excellent. I thought my little sticky notes were up, but they weren't. My computer restarted, and I didn't tell it to do that. And so things I think are supposed to be there aren't. Anyhow, well, good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for Thursday, the 22nd of August, 2019. Well, no jury duty today. Hopefully there won't be any tomorrow. One more night to check, and then that's it. But he didn't have to go today, so we didn't have to get up at 5 in the morning and start watering things, and so we could leave by 7 to get there. But in any event, no, there's no court today, evidently, so no one got called in. So I don't know. He may not get to serve at all. See, and he'll be 66 this year. My husband will, and he's only got, I think he can serve until he's 70. But you don't serve but every 2 years, I guess. They don't call you but every 2 years, if they call you at all. And so he'll have, he figured out he'll have 2 more potential times he could serve on a jury. But then it's either once you reach 70 or when you're over 70, you don't have to anymore. You can just say, yeah, I'm old now. I don't have to do it. So he's running out of jury duty time. Well, anyway, the Thursday correspondences are up on the blog. And let's see, Moon is still in Taurus and also the 12th house. So, my mother was a Taurus, very practical, very, very routine oriented, but she also, she used to say, she says, I'm not a joiner. So she wouldn't, go and do stuff, in groups or whatever. She just didn't do that. She went to work, she came home, that was it, And once in a while, it's not that she didn't have friends. She had girlfriends, and they once in a while had lunch or something like that. And I think she took a ceramics course one time, and she made some gnomes. In fact, I still have them. After she passed, I took the gnomes, and my brother didn't want them, and so I took them because I just thought they were cute. And I had a little pond right here next to the front deck. I have actually 4 ponds, but I have this one next to the front deck, a tiny one. You buy those pre-made ponds, little ponds you can, put little lilies in and things like that. Well, I don't have any of that in it, but I have one there, and I have the gnomes sitting around the pond, and so. But she was a Taurus, and she was, and today, with the 12th house active, it kind of indicates that you're somebody that's more solitary and more of a loner. I mean, it's not that she wouldn't socialize, she did, but it was just probably her preference to be a little more quiet, more homebound, and more reserved, and all of that. So, well, there goes a card. What was it? The looks like the 9 of Wands. So remember that one. Anytime you throw a card onto the floor, if it sails off on you, then you want to remember it could be significant. So maybe we're feeling like, we have some support, but maybe it's not the most stable. He's kind of looking back at all that, feeling a little uneasy, I think, or maybe he's just worn out from the battle. I don't know. But maybe things aren't quite as right yet for him. But magic-wise, if you're looking at elemental influences, Earth is strongest, given Taurus. That's the moon in Taurus. That's understandable. Earth is our practical side. It's and then air is next with intellect. Fire is next. And then water is still remaining unstable. So, you might be given to fits of crying or what have you today. If you're in menopause, it might be a little tearful for you. So those of us that are, if you're someone like me that's not taking HRT, you know, the hormone replacement therapy. I'm just not into that. You know, I'd rather do things herbally, and so I'll typically use different tinctures. I'll do a combination tincture. I have a Crohn tincture that I do, and that's you know, has black cohosh and all that in it, you know, wild yam and stuff. But then I also Vitex berry is good, and so my Vitex plants are actually flowering out there. I just started growing them last year, I think. Anyway, we clone them, and I don't know how many I have. Do I have 7 or something? Anyway, they're blooming, and they're small, you know, but the purple flowers are just gorgeous. Anyway, when it turns to berry, you can tincture the Vitex berry, and it's also called chase tree. You might know it as that. But you can tincture the Vitex berry, and it's really, really good for hot flashes. And so there's that. Maca root is another one. You can buy maca powder now. I don't know how I mean, it looks like it's okay. And so I've actually used it, and also I've grown some maca root, some maca plants, and I grabbed those and I put that into the tincture as well. They're real small, and I planted them again this year. I had zero luck, nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to grow it anymore. I'll just buy the powder and I'll tincture that. I mean, that's really all you're doing anyway when you're tincturing the root. You're chopping it up and, you know, maybe even powdering it, and then after it's dry. Or you can tincture fresh roots. You can do that too. But that's good for hot flashes and menopausal complaints. Motherwort, the queen of all, you know, hot flash tinctures, and when you're feeling uncomfortable, some motherwort is good as well. So, you know, since the water element is in such a weakened state, we won't be very stable emotionally. Maybe our emotions are in flux today. Let's see, what else? I think we talked about retrograde stuff yesterday, so we don't need to do that today. Oh, the numerology for today, of course, is 22, which is the most powerful number that we have. It is the cosmic builder, and so it's all about a soul level type of manifestation. So it's very, very powerful. What are you going to manifest today? You're going to manifest from spirit or ego. Remember, we said we came up with a little slogan yesterday, which I hate slogans. Don't you? I just hate them. Where spirit informs and ego reacts. Yeah, spirit informs while ego reacts. That's our mantra. We can call it a mantra instead of a slogan. Makes it sound better, doesn't it? It's still a, you know. But you can do the Om Mani Padme Hum. You can do that. That's another mantra when you meditate. I do that when I walk. I actually listen to a thing on my phone. I listen to a thing from iTunes. You can find just Google it, or not Google it, but search for it when you go to iTunes. It's just Om Mani Padme Hum, and it'll come up just like that. And it's just a bunch of monks doing that over and over and over again. And it is so nice to have that on when I'm doing my walk. It's great. Now I'll have to say to myself, when spirit informs while ego reacts, as we're trying to transform ourselves into who we truly are. You know, remember that we are spirit and not the bodies we inhabit. Yes, the ego is there, the personality is there, but it should not be, our experiences should not be driven by it. It should be driven by spirit, a spirit focus. You know, once you know that's what you are, you know, it's a little difficult to go back to the other. It's like, it's like, uh-oh, what did I just do? Anyhow, well, let's get started and take our first card. If this is your first time here, welcome. I do take the 13th card each time, and I take either 3 or 4 cards. And then after that, I'm going to do a rune from the Elder Futhark, and then we'll do a geomancy rune, try to tie all of it together. If you're back, thank you so much. It's so nice to see everyone. We're about to start the weekend here tomorrow. I take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, so I just do this 4 days a week. But the weekend looks like it's going to be nice, and The blackberries are being harvested. The tomatoes are starting to be harvested. And we planted some cabbage yesterday evening. And I think that we're starting to harvest potatoes as well. And so we'll replace, as we take a row of tomatoes out, I guess we will, or potatoes out rather, we will replace it with cauliflower transplants, I think, over on that side. And then the broccoli, I'm not sure where we're putting it. We may have to clear out another bed for it, but the fall stuff is going in, so that's exciting. Anyhow, let's get started and take our first card. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My wrists are still hurting from when I was digging valerian root the other day, so my hands aren't working too well. Well, we have the 4 of Pentacles, and here we have a king. He's sitting on some kind of a bench, it looks like. It's not even his throne. He's out in front of the kingdom, kind of out beyond it, displaying his wealth. Who does that remind you of? He's got his feet sitting on his pentacles there, his big coins. He's holding it, clutching it tightly against his chest. And he's also wearing it on top of his crown as like a, I don't know, a talisman of sorts, announcing to the world, this is mine, mine, mine. 4 of Pentacles is, 4 is about structure, but it can also be about respite, so a quiet sense about things. So it's the underlying structure of things that you don't necessarily see, things that are unseen, only in this case, he's showing it to the world. The 4 of Pentacles typically means miserliness. It could also mean, though, that the person in authority is trying to hang on to wealth, maybe because he's planning for the future, or he's trying to build wealth, maybe. But typically, because it's a king, there's usually personality issues involved. Your King of Pentacles is typically a little bit better than the others, a little more reliable, maybe a little more practical and down to earth. But but it really depends on the other cards as to whether or not this is about either something that's protective of the wealth that they're building for the kingdom itself. But typically this is about miserliness. So let's do another card and see if we can get a little more information. Now, one thing about the 22, well, we have the 4 of Wands. So I decided, and we'll take a look at both of these together, and you can see how, depending upon the element involved, this is the fire element involved with Wands, depending on how that is, this is manifestation of will. Okay, this is an intentional balance, an intentional coming together and balanced energy exchange with somebody else, you see. But again, another foundation card, isn't it? But let's take a look at this here. But one thing I wanted to say before I do that, all right? We have a 22-day. Now, master numbers, we do not reduce, all right? But we could. And if we did, in a sense, it equals the 4, doesn't it? So you can look at, given that this is the 22-day, what are we manifesting? Are we manifesting wealth? Okay. And a legacy and some income, you know, so we've got something to live on. Are we doing that? Are we being too miserly about that? Is the king simply keeping it for himself? See, the problem is that he's got his back turned to the kingdom, and that's the part that always bothers me about this, all right? So I don't see this as a positive card. I see this as he's amassing his own fortune at the expense of the kingdom. But here, you have a totally different idea with it, don't you? Put it on the other side here. With the 4 here, it's a decidedly different experience energetically, isn't it? Here we're coming into balanced energy exchange with someone else in an intentional fashion. This almost actually, well, this one actually almost pictorially, visually represents 22, doesn't it? 2, 2, you see that? So if we're going to manifest something with our will, we want it to be something that's in harmony, right? As opposed to being miserly. So this is interesting right off the bat. This is really relating, I think, to the to the cosmic builder today, the 22. Let's do one more card. Wouldn't it be interesting if we got another 4? Let's see what we have. We have the 10 of Swords. Darkest before the dawn. We've gone as far as we can go. It's new beginnings. You know, we've had so much come in on us, you know. The nightmare of the 9 is now the death in the 10 and the new beginnings. We see the sun rising there. We don't actually see it, but dawn is approaching. So you don't actually see the sun, but you see the golden sky there. The darkness is beginning to dissipate. We literally have gone as far as we can go. 10 is about new beginnings. It reduces to 1, and 1 is about new beginnings. So 10 is, you know, 9 is about completion, and so 10 though is we've pretty much gone as far as we can go here. It's sort of the end of illusion as well. Swords is the air element, and so it's our intellectual presence in the world. It's also about reason and balance, but it's about communication and interactions. And here it's just you know, reason has run mad. It's there's been so much slander and betrayal. We just cannot ignore it anymore, though, you see. So basically, we're going to go beyond our limits, and we're going to begin something new. Here, you know, we're limited, aren't we? Because we're dead on the ground. I mean, metaphorically dead on the ground. So in a sense, we're going to manifest a new direction. It feels like I need a 4th card, though. Numerologically, we have a 9, 4, 4, and 1 is 9. So that's completion. So maybe I should stop with this. But it's really, in terms of the 22, is what are we going to build today? What are we going to manifest? Here, with the 10 of Swords, is that we understand what's happening now. We understand the slander. We understand the betrayal. Let's do one more card. Eight, 9, 10, 11, 2. Well, we end with the Knight of Pentacles. So literally, new foundation. Knights are dynamic. They're out doing things. You know, the Grail quest. They're trying to establish themselves in the world. He's got his beautiful black horse, very earthy. Stands on kind of a little, almost like a precipice there to something new. He's headed in the direction of the future. Visor up, so he's very, very prepared. I think that we have to find a new way of manifestation. One that is, we're going to move these cards a little bit here. We have the Cosmic Builder. If we're going to do something, we need to do something more dynamic about our future. One that's more practical, one that's more, that doesn't include a power that, or authority that's miserly and thinking only about himself. We have to understand that within that same sort of vein, we are being lied to, and that we need to cut through the illusion of all of this. And we need to come together in balanced energy exchange. Again, the same theme that's been happening all along. Rejecting the illusion, rejecting the lies. You know, when they tell you that the tax cuts are for everyone, they weren't. When, and now, of course, he's the chosen one. He's the return of God. No, the second coming of God. That's what it is. He said the second coming, but not the second coming of Christ, but the second coming of God, he said yesterday. He's the chosen one. He said that. He believes that he's done all of this stuff that he hasn't done. Veterans Choice was done by Obama. I don't know. Something is happening. Either if it's dementia, if what people are saying, doctors are saying is dementia, if that's true, then that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a decline either of someone who is, you figure that whatever was going on with him anyway, this is the thing. I have a degree in psychology. It's just a bachelor's. But when I got out of college, I went to work for a mental institution, a state mental institution. It was one of my first jobs. And I got to see, I did it intentionally. I became a psychiatric aide because I wanted to see the other side. I had a psychology degree. I wanted to see the psychiatry side of it. And so I got to see a lot of things. And one of the things with dementia is that whoever you are, this is what the general feeling was. Whoever you were before, if you were a really kind, loving person, that when you get dementia, you're probably going to, if that's your dominant personality trait, that's what you're going to have, probably. It's not that you won't have moments where you're freaking out or anything like that, because we saw that too. But mostly you would have very sweet people. If you were someone, however, that was contrary or argumentative or a bad person, criminal or whatever those strong traits were would remain, so they might be the ones you might have the worst time with, trying to keep them calm and happy and, if they could interact, interacting properly. But generally with dementia, they're in their own world at some point, and they're not really all that aware of other people. And so they're not going to interact. But the point is when they did, their general demeanor reflected who they were before. So, what you're going to see is somebody who's more the carnival barker, maybe with this guy, if that's what this is, right? But at the same time, if you look at it in terms of manifestation today, sometimes you have to take the bull by the horns here. And when you have somebody that isn't making sense, and living this way, interacting with the country this way, now we have a problem. We're going to have to rise above it all, come back into balanced energy exchange with one another in order to deal with it. Whatever this is that's going on. But he's not making any sense at all. He never really made any sense anyway, because he doesn't really know anything. And so, at least it doesn't seem like it, right? It's the same comments over and over and over and over, just put in different ways. That's all it is. There's never, you can listen to President Obama, and he will demonstrate an understanding of what he's talking about. He'll explain things, and right? Not now. We don't have that now. The rune is Isa, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark, again, another master number, half of 22. So we have to manifest from the inner voice of spirit, okay? In other words, spirit informs while ego reacts. We need to definitely remain in spirit mode while we, Isa is about the stillness within. It's bringing all of your focus to your still point and aligning with source presence. And then perceiving and reacting and seeing from that standpoint. We have to understand that the distractions and the lies, the deception, in order that things happen, things get destroyed, things get changed. The problem is the change that people thought would happen isn't happening. And whoever it is happening for is just for a chosen few. And it's not the supporters. It's the people that are funding the whole thing. It's the people that enabled him to be there. So if you look at this from a global standpoint, from a societal standpoint, it tells me that we definitely need to remain on this new path, and we need to go into it eyes open. We need to rebalance ourselves with one another and come back into some kind of harmony or alignment with one another. Understand that the way out of this is together and not separate. that whatever bill of goods we were sold, or some of us at least were sold, I'm not one, but some people were sold, that they believed, you know, look, this happens, you know, we're all in this position. I have to go to the dentist next week. I have to believe that guy, right? I don't know him. We're always in the position of having to make a decision. Does what's being said sound reasonable? And in a presidential election, we want to hear our concerns addressed. Well, what if you've got somebody whose people give him talking points that address certain things, but which they know are never going to be really fixed? They're doing it to con people into believing that this guy's the one, where in reality, it's somebody else pulling the strings who with an agenda that we don't know anything about. But as you watch school lunch programs being affected, as you watch healthcare being affected, as you watch the EPA being affected, as you watch all of these protections go away, that are there to keep us safe and healthy. It's not some political agenda. It's simply to keep us, it's so we can drink the water safely. You know, there's no deep state stuff here. And if you look one by one, they're all being taken away. And what's left? This. And this. Because whose dawn is that for? Is it for us to wake up and realize what's going on? Maybe. Is it for him and the people behind him? And will we all be left standing there going, what the heck just happened? See, that's what I think is going to happen. It just, there's just no other thing that can happen now. But now that he's revealing himself, you know, the malignant narcissism, if that's accurate, I'm the chosen one. It's delusional. Okay, it's delusional. Trust me on this, I know. So maybe someone will do something. Maybe someone will see the alarming aspect of this. So let's do oh, yes, okay. So we have via, all single dots. On my geomancy runes set that I made, I have two, oh no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. We have poor. There's actually 2 dots there for water. Okay, all right. So we have poor, which is unstable energy. It also means a young boy. So it's impulse control issues, obviously. I'll show you what it looks like. Geomancy runes are comprised of single and double dots, basically. The single dots are active influences. The dual dot is a passive influence. They're arranged in fire, air, water, and earth. So you can see fire, air, and earth are active principles or influences, and water is a passive one. See the 2 dots there. So there's a little bit of unstable energy. So instead of, you know, being really, really overly assertive or you know, flitting here and there, and maybe not being able to have a whole lot of complete lack of impulse control. This is just more of a youthful type of an experience. You know, a young boy, you know how they are. I raised 2 boys. They're very active, and maybe they think, oh, I'm going to go do that. And it's like one time they were going to make potions. You know, I never actually told them I was a witch until just a few years ago. I kept the whole witch's power to know, or rather to know, to will, to dare, all that. And then the last one is to keep silent, or keep your silence. So I took that very, you know, seriously, because witches were not welcome, and I was empathic, and I was already viewed suspiciously by my parents and by people who witnessed that. And so I never, you know, I knew that witches hid out. We didn't tell anyone, right? You kept that to yourself. Well, I lived it all, but I just didn't name it. So, but yet, witchlings that they were, they naturally gravitated towards such things. And so, they were making a potion. Problem was, I'm at the kitchen sink, and I got the window open. I'm doing dishes. My husband's outside. I see them run by, both of them. And they're little. And I don't know where they got the gasoline, but they're making a potion with gasoline. So I smelled it. I'm like, oh my God. And I knew they were making potions, right? And so I ran out. And my husband already smelled it. And he's running for him. He's grabbing it away from him. So listen, it's a boy thing. I think that I would not have done that. I made potions when I was little. But I generally use plants when I did it. But they got down and dirty with it, and I guess, and didn't realize, they had no idea. And so their dad had to sit and give a lesson on what gasoline was and how explosive it was. And so, they never did that again, fortunately, but they just didn't know. But again, see, it's impulse control issues. They think it's a good idea and they run with it, right? Literally right in front of their mother washing dishes. So fortunately, God has provided there. But it's just the whole idea of a lack of impulse control with poor, that if once a person, what this has to do with dementia, okay? If that's what we're seeing, if we're seeing a progression of that, in a way, this lack of impulse control that he has, this constant lying, he can't help it. But we can't have that. Okay, we can't have that. He's upset with Denmark's prime minister because he decided that she made him look stupid about the whole Greenland thing. Well, come on, man. Why didn't your people tell you that? Maybe they did and you didn't listen. Again, poor, all right? A lack of impulse control. A lack, either, see, but in someone his age, in his 70s, that's not a good sign. You would think someone in their 70s would be a little more settled and would be a little more, have a better awareness of things. And yet he doesn't understand what a tariff does. Tells us, oh no, China's paying it. We're paying it. He doesn't understand. He's not a businessman. Read Craig Unger's book, House of Putin, House of Trump, House of Putin. And he describes the money laundering in detail. So sometimes the illusion gets to be too much and it has to stop. And it kind of feels energetically that we may be approaching that if we're not there now. You may see shorter. You may stop seeing the chopper talk. You may start seeing shorter things that he does because he won't be able to keep it together if that's what this is. And there's so many people now that are in the medical profession that are saying it. Harvard folks are saying it. Gosh, what is her name? Dr. Bandy Lee, was that her name? If you can see that, she's done a video. I believe it's the Duty to Warn folks. I believe that's their group. And it was a group of medical professionals, psychiatrists and whatnot, neurologists. I don't know who all it is. It may be Harvard-based, it might be more, but they're talking about this and they're raising the alarm. Once they get to a point where they can no longer tell reality, then something has to be done. If what we're seeing is the beginnings of, we've already seen, you could say, given all the lies he's told, what is it, over 12,000 now or something, since he's been in office? Just since then, not even before, just since then. Is that a function of this? Or is this just something he's always done? See, we don't know, do we? Because the person that we've been told exists actually doesn't. The Celebrity Apprentice stuff, none of it was true. It was all created, all pieced together from what I've been reading. People that worked there. So what we're witnessing is not a man, but a brand. And the man underneath is unstable. At least that's how it seems to me. So I think that when you're looking at the divination of geomancy, you're talking about earth types of energies here. It's an earth divination tool. And so earth is about our foundation. So is his foundation so unstable now that he's not, that even the powers that be aren't going to be able to keep it together for him anymore. It's interesting. We need to employ Isa now. We need to search our soul, and we need to know what we really see is true. Don't listen. When someone tells you, believe what I say and not what you see, that's your first. I mean, there's no bigger red flag than that. There really isn't. So I think that we're all going to have to take the bull by the horns and come back together and deal with this and do what's right for our country. But if this is what's happening to him, no matter what you think of him personally from the past, the type of man he's been, whether you think he's a predator or anything else, whether, you know, the money laundering stuff, if that's all true, which it seems to be, irrespective of all of that, what we have is somebody, if this is true, if what we're seeing is dementia, we have somebody that needs to be cared for now. He needs to have care now. He doesn't need stress. He doesn't need to be in this position. He needs to be cared for. No matter what you think of him, no matter if you think he should be in prison. I think he should be in prison, but I don't know now that that's even going to be possible. See, I actually think he is all these things that we're hearing about. I think all of them were true. I thought they were true before the election. That's why I didn't vote for him. I couldn't. I believe the predatory stuff. I believe all of it. I followed his career. I don't know why, but I did. I'd read things. He'd be articles. I'd see interviews. I'd watch them. I'd listen to them. So there was never going to be a way I would vote for him. Never. No matter what he went out there and said, I knew better. And the sing-song cadence of his rallies that he does, that's brainwashing. That's mind control. I'm an empath. I can't listen to him. Literally, I cannot listen to him. He draws you into his weird flow. That's predatorial. You can't listen to him if you're an empath. It triggers. It draws. So no, there was never going to be any way I was going to vote for him anyway, but looking at him now and considering what the doctors are saying and listening to what I know as an empath, I know that as much as I would like to just simply be enraged about all of this, there's a side of me that has to feel compassion for someone who's failing. I mean, I've worked in a ward, a psychiatric ward that deals with these folks. It's one of the places I worked in that hospital. I didn't just work there, but I did work there. I wanted to know everything, right? So I worked in, I don't know, 3 different wards, I think. So I got to see different people, you know, in different stages of decline or, you know, maybe they were just there to, maybe it was a bipolar person who was just there to get their meds straightened out and then they'd be gone, you know. So I got to see a lot of different people in a lot of different stages of psychosis and getting well and not getting well, declining further. But just from an energetic standpoint, this is scary. What I'm seeing now, what I'm feeling now is scary. So go within, use the Isa energy and go within and think about this and think about if what you're truly seeing and hearing is right. You know. You might want to struggle against what you know, but you know. Think about it. If you've had family members, compare it to how he behaves now. Something is wrong. It's just wrong. And his family needs to do something. They need to protect him. Stop using him. Protect him. Protect your father from himself. Anyway, something to think about. Not a fun thing to think about, but I think we're going to have to. So, something is very, very wrong here. So, anyhow, I'll either do this tonight if he has to go to jury duty tomorrow, or wait, no, I won't. I don't have to do anything. I won't have to do anything till Monday. And unless he's on a jury, that's what I meant to say. If he gets on a jury tomorrow, it might act, even though he's supposed to be done, because we don't know yet, he may have to go next week to finish the trial, right? So if that's the case, then again, I'll be posting it super early on Monday. Otherwise, we'll just be back to normal and you know, we'll be here. Anyhow, again, this is, we need a new way forward. And we need a new way forward that protects our foundation, and we need a new way forward that comes together with one another, and so that we can get on the same page and understand what's actually going on, and then make the decision that's best for him and for our country, for all of us, but particularly for the guy in the Oval, if what the doctors are saying is true. He needs a safer environment for himself now, if this is true, if what we saw yesterday, because when I listen to it, I don't listen to him, and I listen to it, I'm like, oh my goodness. My husband was in the kitchen. I turned to say something to him. He was standing right there. His eyes were big. We're just like, what? So we need to do something. We need to protect him. That's what needs to happen. He needs to be protected now, if that's what this is. And don't put him out there anymore. Figure out a way to end this and get him into a safe and protected environment where he can be treated, and maybe make his life a little bit more comfortable for him, realistically, as much as I would like to say something else, I think that's likely what's going to happen if what the doctors are saying are true. I think that's likely what's going to happen. So he should not, however, if that's what this is, he should not run again. A campaign will likely upend him completely. The stress of it will be too much. He will not make any sense at some point. I mean, he doesn't really anyway, but it's going to get so noticeable. Physical things happen. I guess they're beginning to happen now, or at least it's possible that they are. And he won't be able to contain it. So, again, if that's what is happening, I think that the best thing that we could do as Americans is just come together for the sake of the safety of him. I mean, even putting aside our own, the safety of someone who's dealing with something like this. You just forget it's even him. If it's even too much for you to think about it that way. We have an individual that needs help, irrespective of the rest of it. He needs help. So let's help him. Anyway, I guess that's all I'm trying to say here. At some point, no matter how angry we are, that has to give way to some compassion, if that's what this is. And it's hard to do, especially if you're somebody who's been affected by him personally in his business life. You don't want to see anything good happen to him at all. And I get it. But we have to let that go, maybe. So, anyhow, I guess that's it. We'll see you on Monday sometime, either at the normal time or I'll post it in the morning. Um, but yeah, take some time and think. Take some time and go within this weekend and really think, and think about what you know, not what you're being told to know. So, anyhow, we'll see you Monday. Thank you so much for coming by. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.